The moving truck idled in our driveway. 6:47 a.m. Saturday morning. I stood in the kitchen doorway, 7 months pregnant, watching strangers load our furniture into a 16-wheeler. Daniel. My voice came out flat. What's happening? My husband didn't turn around. Just kept directing the movers, pointing at our wedding china, the nursery furniture we'd assembled last week. Careful with those boxes. They're fragile. Daniel. Louder now. He finally looked at me. Designer suit. Rolex catching morning light. That smile he used when closing deals. Morning, babe. Didn't want to wake you. Big debt. Big day, I repeated. Sold the house. Got an incredible offer, way above market. We close in 3 hours. He turned back to the movers. The dresser goes in the truck too. My hands found my belly. The baby kicked, as if she could sense something was wrong. You sold our house. My house, technically. My name on the deed. He checked his Rolex. Samantha's lawyer already drew up new living arrangements for you. She's waiting at the Mercer Hotel. You'll like her. Yum, sharp, gets things done. Samantha, 24, his business associate, who wore Hermes and smelled like Chanel No. 5 and had been calling at midnight for 3 months. But let me rewind. Let me show you how we got here. 8 months earlier, the blueprints covered our dining table. Plans for the addition, a nursery with floor-to-ceiling windows, a reading nook, custom-built tents. It'll be perfect, Daniel said, squeezing my hand. Our daughter deserves the best. I was 3 weeks pregnant then. Glowing, hopeful, stupid. It's expensive. I traced the architect's rendering. Maybe we should wait until, no waiting. I just landed the Carlyle account. $50 million development project. Money's about to pour in. He kissed my forehead. Let me take care of everything. You focus on growing our baby. I should have questioned it. The sudden generosity. The way he started working late. The credit cards in my name that appeared without discussion. But I was tired. Pregnancy exhausted me. I worked part-time at my mother's real estate firm. Had been there for 6 years, quietly building a client list. Daniel called it my hobby. Take a break, Heath said. Let me handle the finances. You handle the baby. So I did. I stopped checking the accounts. Stopped asking questions. Focused on nursery colors and baby names, and believing my husband loved me. 3 months ago, Mrs. Palmer. The process server handed me papers at my mother's office. You're being sued for unpaid credit card debt. $17,000. My hands shook. There must be a mistake. I don't have any credit cards except these were opened in your name. 6 different cards. All maxed out. I called Daniel. He was at lunch. Always at lunch now. Always with Samantha. Babe, don't worry about it. I'll handle it. Probably identity theft. I'll call the banks. He didn't call the banks. 2 weeks later, another process server. Another $23,000 in debt. Daniel. I confronted him at dinner. What's going on? These cards, business expenses. I'll pay them off when the Carlyle deal closes. He refilled his wine glass. Red wine? Expensive, from the cellar. Stop stressing. It's bad for the baby. My mother, Eleanor Winters, 30 years in real estate, sharp as glass, pulled me aside the next day. Sweetheart, I ran a credit check. You're drowning. Daniel's been using your name, your social security number. He's built a house of cards, and you're the foundation. He said it's temporary. The Carlyle deal. There is no Carlyle deal. I checked. The project fell through 6 months ago. He's been lying. The room tilted. No, he wouldn't. Check the house deed. Check everything. Her voice was steel and mercy. And Claire? Remember what your grandmother left you. Grandma Winters died when I was 16. Left me her property, 73 acres of undeveloped land on the outskirts of the city. Prime location, terrible access road, no utilities. Worthless then, not worthless now. The city had expanded. My worthless land sat directly in the path of the new commercial corridor. Developers had been circling for years. I'd refused every offer, keeping it for our future, for our children. Daniel built our house on that land. He'd been so insistent about the location. Perfect spot, babe. I found a great deal on this lot. Let me handle the purchase. I'd signed papers. Trusted him. Never looked closely. But the land beneath the house? That was always my grandmother's will specified it. My name on the original deed. Recorded 30 years before I met Daniel. He built on my property and somehow convinced himself he owned it. 2 weeks ago, I hired my own lawyer. Not Samantha. A woman named Margaret Chun, 60 years old, ruthless, who'd handled my mother's most vicious divorces. He's planning something, Margaret said, spreading documents across her desk. The debt, the spending, the girlfriend. Classic pattern. He's going to leave you broke and take everything he thinks is his. The house is built on land you own. He has a deed to the structure, but Claire, you own the foundation, the ground, the 73 acres surrounding it. She smiled. He can't sell what he doesn't own. We spent 2 weeks building the case. Quiet, careful. While Daniel planned his exit, I planned mine. Which brings us back to now, to this moment, to the moving truck and Daniel's satisfied smile. New living arrangements? I kept my voice calm. Samantha's already found you a place. Small apartment, month to month. Very reasonable. He checked his watch again. You'll need to be out in 2 hours. The buyers are taking possession at noon. The buyers? Cash offer. Corporate investment group. They're raising the house, building luxury condos. We're making $3.2 million. He grinned. After I pay off your debts and the construction costs, I'll clear about $2 million. Fresh start from me and Sam. The baby kicked again. Harder this time. And me? I asked softly. You? He shrugged. You'll figure it out. You always do. Maybe move in with your mother for a while. The courts will sort out custody and child support later. My lawyer says I'm being more than fair. Fair. I pulled out my phone. I need to make a call. Make it fast. Movers charge by the hour. I dialed Margaret Chun. It's time, I said. Daniel's smile started to fade. Margaret arrived in a black Mercedes at 7:23 a.m. She stepped out carrying a leather briefcase, wearing an Armani suit that had probably cost more than Daniel's Rolex. Mr. Palmer. Her voice could cut diamonds. On Margaret Chun, Mrs. Palmer's attorney. We need to talk. Daniel's smile returned. My lawyer already handled everything. Claire signed a prenup? That's not what we need to discuss. Margaret set her briefcase on the hood of a moving truck. Clicked it open. We need to discuss the fact that you're attempting to sell property you don't own. I have the deed right here. He pulled papers from his suit pocket. House is in my name. Bought and paid for. The house, yes. The structure. Margaret extracted a document. But not the land beneath it. Not the 73 acres surrounding it. Not the foundation. I watched color drain from his face. That's not. Claire, what is she talking about? I stepped forward. My Target maternity dress, the one he'd mocked last week, suddenly felt like armor. My grandmother's land. The property you insisted we build on. You drew up a deed for the house, but never checked who owned the plot. I kept my voice steady. It's been mine for 22 years. Recorded. Legal. Uncontestable. No. The word came out strangled. That's impossible. I bought. I paid. You paid construction costs. Materials. Labor. Margaret's smile was surgical. But you built on someone else's land. Which means, legally, the structure belongs to the landowner. Mrs. Palmer. Daniel turned to me. Claire. Baby. This is a misunderstanding. We can fix this. Just sign the land over to me and what? You'll still sell it? Take the money? Leave me with nothing but your debt. I shook my head. No. The buyers are expecting. The buyers can expect a lawsuit. Margaret extracted another document. I've already filed an injunction. The sale is blocked pending resolution of ownership dispute. The moving truck needs to leave. Now. Daniel's face went purple. You can't do this. I have contracts. Obligations. That money is mine. That money doesn't exist. I felt surprisingly calm. The baby had stopped kicking. She was quiet, as if listening. You can't sell what you don't own. Samantha. Daniel shouted toward the house. Samantha, get out here. She appeared in the doorway. White Chanel dress. Louis Vuitton bag. Face like a porcelain doll until she saw Margaret. What's going on? Daniel, the buyers are on their way. There are no buyers anymore. Margaret's voice cut through. And Miss Chun, I have some questions about your involvement. Did Mr. Palmer disclose to you that he was selling contested property? Samantha's eyes went wide. Contested? He said this was clean. You said? I said. Daniel's voice cracked. Claire's just being difficult. She'll sign. She has to sign. I don't have to do anything. The words felt powerful. This is my land. My house. My equity. You. Daniel lunged forward. 2 men in suits stepped from Margaret's Mercedes. Security. They moved between us before Daniel could get close. Mr. Palmer. Margaret's voice dropped to ice. I suggest you calm down. Threatening a pregnant woman in front of witnesses would be unfortunate for your custody case. Custody case? Samantha's voice pitched high. Daniel, you said the baby wasn't an issue. You said Claire would agree to minimal support. Shut up, Sam. But Samantha was looking at me now. Really looking. At my worn clothes, my exhausted face, my swollen belly. Oh my God. Her hand flew to her mouth. You're actually pregnant. Like, really pregnant. I thought. Daniel said you were barely showing. He lied to you too. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. About a lot of things, I imagine. Her Louis Vuitton bag slipped from her shoulder. The money. You said you had money. You said after this sale we'll be fine. Daniel's voice cracked again. This is just a hiccup. Claire's bluffing. She doesn't have the resources to fight me. Mrs. Palmer's mother is Eleanor Winters. Margaret's smile widened. Of Winters and Associates Real Estate, one of the largest firms in the state. Her legal fund is substantial. I watched understanding dawn on Samantha's face. Watched her calculate. Watched her take 3 steps back from Daniel. You said her mother ran a small office. You said Claire came from nothing. She does. She's a nobody. Her mother's company is Winters and Associates manages $1.3 billion in property. Margaret checked her notes. They represent 43 commercial developments, including the new corridor where this land sits. In fact, Mrs. Winters personally handled the zoning changes that made this property so valuable. Samantha turned white. The corridor. You said you had inside information on the corridor. That's why we bought. That's why you built here. She looked at me. Your mother. My mother tried to buy this land from me 3 years ago. Offered fair market value. I said no because Daniel wanted to build our dream house here. I touched my belly. She gave me the inside information as a wedding gift. To protect my investment. So when he built, Samantha's voice trembled. He made the land more valuable. But it was never his. Never his, I confirmed. Daniel stared at me like I'd grown a second head. You knew. All along, you knew how much this land was worth. I knew what Grandma left me. I knew what you were building. I trusted you were building it for us. The exhaustion in my voice was real. I was wrong. Claire. His voice changed, softened. The voice he'd used when proposing. Baby, please. We can work this out. I made mistakes, but we're having a child together. We're a family. You sold our family to the highest bidder 2 hours ago. I'll call off the sale. We'll start over. You'll what? Stay married to me out of financial necessity. Keep Samantha on the side. Accumulate more debt in my name. I shook my head. No. Margaret stepped forward. Mr. Palmer, here are your options. 1. You sign ownership of the house structure over to Mrs. Palmer in exchange for her assuming no responsibility for the debts you accumulated. 2. She sues you for building on her land without permission, and you lose everything plus face potential fraud charges. That's not. I'm her husband. A husband who committed identity theft, credit fraud, and attempted real estate fraud. Margaret's voice was clinical. I have documentation of 17 credit cards opened in Mrs. Palmer's name without her knowledge. Bank statements showing you diverted payments. Emails between you and Ms. Chun discussing how to handle the Claire situation after the sale. Samantha made a small sound. Those emails. You said they were jokes. You said, shut up. Daniel's composure finally shattered. Both of you shut up. I built this. Me. I made this happen. That land was worthless until my mother rezoned the corridor. I kept my voice soft. Which she did as a favor to me. To protect my inheritance. The land would be worthless without that change. You built on it without asking. Without checking. Because you assumed I was too stupid to own anything valuable. The truth hung between us like smoke. Daniel's legs seemed to give out. He sat on the front steps, my front steps, on my land, and put his head in his hands. This can't be happening. It's happening. Margaret pulled out more papers. Sign here. House ownership transfers to your wife. You walk away with nothing but your personal belongings and your girlfriend. Or don't sign, and we'll see you in court where you'll walk away with nothing and a criminal record. How long? His voice was hollow. How long have you been planning this? Since the second process server. I kept my hands on my belly. Since I realized you were burning my life down to keep yourself warm. You looked up at me. I loved you. You loved the idea of me. The quiet wife who didn't ask questions. Who didn't check bank statements or deeds or emails. The baby kicked, and I felt her strength. But I'm Eleanor Winter's daughter. Did you really think I wouldn't learn? Samantha picked up her Louis Vuitton bag. I need to go. Sam. Daniel reached for her. Don't. She stepped back. You used me. Used her. Used everyone. She looked at me. I'm sorry. I didn't know about any of it. I thought. You thought you were special. No anger in my voice. Just fact. He made you feel special while he destroyed me. Next month, it would have been someone else while he destroyed you. She fled to her car. A red BMW. Probably Daniel's money. Our money. My equity. Margaret handed Daniel a pen. Sign now, and this ends quietly. Refuse, and I file everything tomorrow. Criminal charges, civil suits, the works. Your choice. His hand shook as he reached for the pen. Daniel signed at 8:47 a.m. Every page. Every clause. His hand trembled so badly Margaret had to study the papers. The movers. His voice was hollow. We'll put everything back. I stood in the doorway of my house. Mine now legally and completely. You can collect your personal items tomorrow. Between 9 and 10 a.m. Security will be present. He looked at the house. At the nursery windows on the second floor, curtains we'd hung together. At the garden where we'd planned to teach our daughter to plant tomatoes. Claire. His voice cracked. I know I don't deserve it, but can we talk? Really talk? About what? About how we got here. About. He gestured helplessly. I don't understand when you became this person. This person. I felt the baby kick, strong and sure. You mean the one who doesn't let you steal from her? I mean cold. Calculating. He shook his head. Where's the woman I married? She died around the time you opened the fourth credit card in her name. I kept my voice level. Or maybe when you sold her house without telling her. Or when you brought your girlfriend to our bed. He flinched. Once. That happened once. Once is all it takes. I touched my belly. Every choice you made, you chose yourself over us. Over your daughter. I want to be part of her life. That's not up to me. That's up to the courts. Margaret stepped forward with more papers. Custody will be determined separately. Child support as well. For now, you need to leave Mrs. Palmer's property. He stood slowly. Straightened his suit. That expensive suit bought with money he'd stolen from me. I'll get a lawyer. Fight this. I built that house. On my land. With my credit. Using my mother's zoning changes. I was tired suddenly. Bone tired. Daniel, just go. You've lost. Accept it. I haven't lost. You can't survive without me. You've never. I've worked for 6 years in real estate. I have my own clients. My own income. I smiled without humor. You just never noticed because you never asked. You saw what you wanted to see. A quiet wife who needed you. Understanding flickered in his eyes. The part-time job at your mother's office. That wasn't part-time. Full commission. I just worked from home 3 days a week because you liked having me available. I pulled out my phone, showed him my client list. I closed $4.3 million in sales last year. While pregnant. While you were handling the finances. He stared at the screen. Where did you think the money came from? The nursery furniture you're trying to steal right now cost $8,000. Your salary wouldn't cover that, and your girlfriend's BMW payment. You paid for Sam's car? You paid with my money. My commissions. My work. I put the phone away. Every dinner out, every bottle of wine, every gift you gave her, that was me. Supporting you while you destroyed us. He sat down on the front steps again. Just collapsed. I need time to process this. Process it somewhere else. Margaret gestured to her security team. Mrs. Palmer needs rest. She's 7 months pregnant, and you've caused enough stress. They escorted him off the property at 9:15 a.m. I watched from the living room window as he climbed into his car, a leased Mercedes he couldn't afford, and drove away. Then I sat on the couch and cried. Not for him. For the future I'd imagined. For the man I thought I'd married. For my daughter who'd grow up without the father I'd wanted to give her. Margaret sat beside me, handed me tissues. This part hurts. But you did the right thing. I know. You saved yourself. Your daughter. Your future. I know that too. I wiped my eyes. Does it make it easier? No. She patted my hand. But you're Eleanor Winter's daughter. You'll survive this. 3 months later my daughter was born on a Tuesday. 7:23 p.m. 8 pounds, 4 ounces. Eyes like mine, chin like Daniel's. Perfect. I named her Grace. After my grandmother. The one who'd left me the land that saved us. Daniel wasn't there. He'd moved to Phoenix, taken a job with a smaller firm, sent child support checks on time. Requested supervised visitation once he got settled. I'd think about that later. Maybe agree, maybe not. My lawyer would handle it. My mother was there, holding my hand through every contraction, cutting the cord, crying when Grace took her first breath. You did it, sweetheart. You're so strong. I held my daughter against my chest, felt her tiny heartbeat. We did it, Grace. You and me. 6 months after that, the developers made their offer on a Wednesday. Not the same ones Daniel tried to sell to. They'd backed out after the legal mess. These were different. Legitimate. Interested in the full 73 acres. $38 million, Margaret said. For the land and the house. They'll raise everything, build luxury condos and retail space. You'd walk away set for life. I looked at Grace and her bouncer. 9 months old. Just starting to crawl. What would you do? I asked my mother. She'd come for lunch, held Grace while I reviewed papers. What do you want to do? I looked around. At the house Daniel built. The nursery I'd decorated alone. The garden I'd started teaching Grace about, showing her tomato seedlings. I want to build something new. Not condos. Something better. My mother smiled. Tell me. 18 months later, the Winters Grace Foundation broke ground on a Thursday. Affordable housing. 40 units. Built on my grandmother's land. For single mothers. For women leaving bad situations. For families who needed a fresh start. I kept the house. Renovated it. Added a second nursery because I'd started fostering. 2 little girls now, sisters, whose mother needed help getting back on her feet. Grace had playmates. I had purpose. The foundation was my mother's idea. Your grandmother would love it. Taking what was meant to hurt you and turning it into something that helps others. We held a ribbon-cutting ceremony. Press came. Local politicians gave speeches. Daniel sent flowers. No card. I donated them to the hospital where Grace was born. 2 years after that, I met someone. A contractor who'd worked on the foundation. Divorced, father of 2. Kind eyes, gentle hands. He fixed my porch steps and stayed for dinner. We took it slow. Grace loved him. The foster girls trusted him. He never pushed, never assumed, never took without asking. You're sure? He said when I finally invited him to stay. I know you've been through hell. I don't want to rush. I'm sure. And I was. Not because he had money. He didn't. Not like Daniel pretended to. Not because he was perfect. He left dishes in the sink and snored. But because he saw me. Really saw me. Not what I could give him. Not what I could build for him. Just me. 5 years later, Grace started kindergarten. The foster girls were adopted by us, together, legally. My contractor became my husband in a small ceremony at the foundation. Daniel requested full visitation. Supervised became unsupervised. He'd gotten sober, gotten therapy, gotten better. Grace spent alternating weekends with him. She needs her father, my mother said. Even a flawed one who's trying. I agreed. Not for Daniel. For Grace. But I never forgot. Never let my guard down. The land stayed in my name. The house stayed in my name. Everything stayed protected. Because I'd learned the hardest lesson. Trust, but verify. Love, but safeguard. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. The foundation expanded. 50 units. Then 80. My mother retired, left me her company. I merged them. Winters and Grace Real Estate and Foundation. We specialized in helping women. Building equity. Creating security. Every woman who came through our doors got the same advice I'd give my daughters. Own your own foundation. Build on ground that's yours. Never let anyone make you small. On Grace's 10th birthday, she asked about her father. Why did you and Daddy stop living together? I could have lied. Could have sanitized it. Instead, I told her the truth. Age appropriate, but real. He made choices that hurt our family. I made choices to protect us. Sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes you have to love yourself more. Did you stop loving him? No. But I started loving us more. You and me. Our future. She thought about it. I'm glad you did. Me too, baby. Me too. That night, after Grace was asleep, I stood on the porch of my house. My land. My foundation. The city glowed in the distance. The foundation buildings stood solid. My family slept safely inside. Daniel had tried to sell my ground from under me. Instead, I'd built an empire on it. Not revenge. Something better. Proof that the quiet woman in thrift store clothes was never helpless. She was just waiting for her moment to rise. And when she did, she lifted others with her. The foundation wasn't just land. It was promise. It was power. It was proof. You can't sell what you don't own. And nobody would ever own me again.